Big reset.
Oh my goodness.
2 minutes to go. We got two exhausted heavyweights as Teixeira
They are
touches the bottom.
exhausted.
You see these guys right here? That's Taito Iwasa and Talishan Teixeira. Two guys who are not only professional UFC heavyweight fighters, but two guys ranked inside the top 15. Do you not see a problem with this? Since 1993, MMA has been evolving at a crazy pace. The lighter weight classes have adapted, sharpened their skills, and become more technical with every generation. But heavyweights? It feels like it's gone in the opposite direction. Instead of evolving, it's been slowly devolving over time. There was a point when heavyweight was the must-watch division. We had generational talent like Cain Velasquez, Junior Dos Santos, Big Nog, and Frank Mir running the show. And even outside the UFC, legends like Fedor or Mirko Cro Cop were ruling the world. Heavyweight felt special back then.
Dude. Wow. He's not even like really flexing hard. He's still smiling.
He's so jacked.
Oh my God.
Dude, he was so jacked.
Fast forward to 2026, and we're seeing the end result of years of decline. Fighters like Taito Iwasa and Derek Lewis are gassing out after a round.
He's terrible. And when I say that, it sounds like such an insult. What an insult to say this guy's terrible. No, he's terrible.
The division is stuck in a weird stalemate where the so-called champion ducked the #1 contender, who by the way is now recovering from an eye poke that could keep him out for another 6 or 7 months. So I have to ask, what went wrong? How did we get here? Why are average guys like Shamil Gaziev and Talishan Teixeira sitting in the top 15? And most importantly, what needs to change right now for the heavyweight division to recover?
Fighting Business is one of my favorite new channels going right now.
Thank you to the Fighting Business. Absolutely amazing.
Tonight's landmark martial arts event. 8 of the deadliest fighters in the world will meet in a no-holds-barred combat to determine who is the ultimate fighting champion. Be forewarned, there are no rules, no judges' scores, and no time.
MMA started back in 1993. That's just 33 years ago. For reference, most major league sports started in the early 1900s, and that difference in time does one specific thing. It shapes the evolution of the sport.
People are talking about the violence of this particular sport. Yes, it is violent, but you have a lot of action, excitement, and science. If you don't know your skills, don't get out here. If you don't know how to fight on the floor, don't come out here, people.
When a sport is still new, each year sees major improvements. The sport becomes more popular, the competition pool gets larger, the technique gets refined, and the athletes just get better at a really fast pace. And that's exactly what we've seen throughout every division in the UFC. Except for one, heavyweight. And if you don't believe me, just look at these numbers. The heavyweight division has the highest finish rate in the UFC, sitting at around 68%, compared to the featherweights or bantamweight who only finish their fight 47% of the time. That contrast is pretty obvious. Now you might be thinking, that's great, I want to see some KOs. And you know what? Me too. But this statistic right here explained the slow or damn near non-existent evolution of the heavyweight division. Knocking someone out cold in front of the whole world has always been way more impressive to casual fans than winning a clean technical battle that goes to the judges. When one punch can end a fight, you don't need to evolve. And for years, heavyweights didn't.
I need to sit my black ass down and do some more cardio. What you talking about right now? I ain't trying to fight for no title right now. Not with no gas tank like that.
To figure out what the hell happened to this slop fest of a division, we need to look at the UFC's other divisions. If you look at bantamweight, featherweight, lightweight, and even welterweight to some extent, those divisions are better than they've ever been. Like I said, years of evolution have made them faster, more technical, and far more well-rounded, both offensively and defensively.
I love watching someone reach a level that we have never seen before, and the cardio that this guy has, the drive, and the improvement in the striking, the ability to finish on the ground, to submit him. I mean, he's got to start finishing people now.
So, compared to 10 or 20 years ago, these divisions have leveled up massively. But the heavyweights, these guys didn't level up at the same pace. And in today's MMA, the heavyweight division is by far the worst and least talented division in the sport.
It's so weird. Heavyweight division, baddest man on the planet, just the scariest division known to man. And yeah, it's been weird the last few years. Like the heavyweight division's just kind of been not super exciting, not super interesting. Yeah, the division's just not that fun. I saw someone saying get rid of it or whatever, but
lighter fighters couldn't rely on one-punch knockout power to win fights. They had to find other ways. They had to master technique, movement, timing, and strategy, outsmarting and outmaneuvering their opponents instead of just swinging for the fences. Heavyweights, on the other hand, never really felt that same pressure to evolve. When you're 260 pounds with nuclear power in your hands, all it takes is one mistake from your opponent, one small opening, and the fight can be over.
It's so fun to watch, though, because you just don't know what's going to happen.
You're exactly right.
Oh!
Because that approach worked for so long, there was never a real sense of urgency to improve technically. Another big issue is how punishing this weight class can be. A featherweight can attempt a risky submission, still scramble back to his feet without major consequences. But at heavyweights, losing position can be a disaster. A few heavy ground and pound shots can end the fight on the spot, and even if it doesn't, getting stuck underneath a big guy for the rest of the round can instantly cost you the round. So taking risk, especially with submissions, just never felt worth it. Combine that with the why not just knock him out mindset, and you've got a division that never truly had to evolve. That's how we ended up here. Bad cardio, slow pace, and some seriously unathletic body types becoming the norm. Heavyweights focused on what worked and what carried the least risk, rather than experimenting and improving, because the punishment for messing up could be a brutal knockout. The lighter weight classes didn't have that luxury. They had to evolve. They had the freedom to test things, fail, adapt, and figure out and what worked and what didn't. And that's why they're miles ahead today.
I represent the new generation of the mixed martial arts. The skill development that I'm bringing to the sport is completely different.
Did you watch Derek Lewis versus Waldo Cortez Acosta?
Yeah, so what do you think goes down Saturday night with Waldo?
I think I could get him out of there the first exchange of the fight.
First exchange?
Yeah, just because he don't respect my power, so I believe I could really hurt him.
Derek has always relied pretty much only on one shot, and once the fight hit round 2, he was completely gassed. The way he folded and looked for a way out, man, it genuinely looked like someone who had never fought before. And if you thought that fight was bad, the Tai Tuivasa versus Talisha Teixeira fight somehow managed to be even worse. By the third round, both guys were so exhausted that it looked less like a professional MMA fight and more like two drunk dudes swinging at each other outside a bar. Now, sure, Tai is out of shape and cardio has never been his strong suit, but what about Talisha? This guy was supposed to be the fresh air in the division, a 26-year-old BJJ black belt, a prospect we were told to get excited about.
Talisha Teixeira, 100% finishing rate all in round 1.
The man is a finishing machine, 6'8", an 83-inch reach, the tallest and longest guy we've ever seen.
And just to really put into perspective how bad the heavyweight division is right now, Tai Tuivasa, who's on a 6-fight losing streak and hasn't won a fight since 2022, is still ranked in the top 20 of the current best MMA heavyweights in the world on Topology. Let that sink in for a second.
I think something's got to change. I mean, back in my day, you know, you go on a fucking 3-fight losing streak, you're cut. Yeah. You're cut.
Take any of these guys, put them in a time capsule and drop them in the early 2010s against fighters like Fabricio Verdum or Cain Velasquez. They would have gotten absolutely slaughtered. And that's the frustrating part, because Aspinall and Cyril Gane proved that all hope isn't lost. These are heavyweights who move like middleweights, guys who can actually pull off techniques that are rarely seen at this weight class. Especially Tom, a genuinely well-rounded fighter. He can knock you out on the feet or submit you on the ground. He's the complete package. Those two are what an evolved heavyweight division should look like. They prove that heavyweights can improve and evolve after all. The problem is, 2 guys alone aren't enough to save an entire division. Another big problem is that heavyweights tend to start MMA later in life. Late starts mean an aging roster, and that shows up in poor cardio and limited time to actually improve. The average age of ranked UFC heavyweights is around 33.4 years, the highest of any men's division. Most lower divisions sit closer to 30 to 32 years old, which means younger athletes, faster turnover, and more evolution. The data backs this too, showing that the division average is 32.5 years in age, which is, again, older than most divisions. So now you've got the heaviest division and the oldest one. And there's a saying in combat sports that power is the last thing to go as you age. That's exactly why so many heavyweights stick to it and rely almost exclusively on power as they creep closer to their late 30s and 40s. At heavyweight, you can still take someone with a background in another sport, like Greg Hardy, for example, coming from football, throw him into MMA, and he can find some level of success purely because of power. Try doing that at lightweights or featherweights, and it's basically impossible. Brock Lesnar came over from WWE and became a UFC champion. Sure, he was a legit wrestler, but You get the point. Now compare that to CM Punk. He tried the same thing and quickly found out that lighter weight classes don't work that way. You need well-rounded skills, elite cardio, and real experience everywhere. There are no shortcuts. Even if we look back at the so-called heavyweight golden era, with names like Stipe Miocic, Cain Velasquez, or Brock Lesnar, technique was still lacking compared to lighter divisions. More often than not, power was the main weapon. You almost never saw heavyweights pulling off spinning back kick knockouts like Edson Barbosa or hitting arm bars from the bottom the way lighter fighters do. Even back then, the gap was obvious, and over time, that gap turned into laziness, relying on one-punch knockout instead of pushing technical growth, which brings us to where we are today. Heavyweights simply can't move at the same pace for 5 rounds like smaller fighters do. Greater body mass means more energy required to move, more oxygen needed for muscles, and a much higher chance of fatigue. Moving 250 pounds takes a lot more energy than moving 155. Heavyweights tire faster, slow down earlier, and that makes them easier to hit and harder to defend themselves. In grappling, gravity makes it harder to lift or throw a massive opponent, which is why strength often gets prioritized over technique at heavyweight. And you know what? USADA may have had the biggest impact on the heavyweights, and maybe not necessarily in a good way. Think about it. Before USADA, fighters could use TRT regularly, recover faster, overcome fatigue, and train just as hard as lighter fighters. That's why we had guys like Alistair Overeem and Brock Lesnar looking like comic book characters. Not only were they massive, but they could push a fast pace, absorb damage, and maintain cardio for at least 3 rounds. Back then, the only fat heavyweight was Roy Nelson. Look at the division now. Roy Nelson would have looked like the gold standard. For the sake of argument, just compare Tai Tuivasa or Shamil Gaziev today with Overeem or Brock Lesnar in the early 2010s. The difference is night and day. And as if watching heavyweight gas out after a single round wasn't bad enough, the championship situation has completely killed any hope of a quick comeback for the division. The whole Tom Aspinall interim belt saga was painful to watch.
I honestly can see John's point of view. I get it. I get it. It's just about the title for me. I just want the title, that's it. Does nothing else really matters, so.
John Jones clearly ducked him for over a year, holding the division hostage before allegedly retiring. Then, just when it looked like we were finally moving forward with Tom Aspinall versus Cyril Gane for the undisputed title, we got that unfortunate eye poke, and now Aspinall is sidelined for another 6 or 7 months. Sure, guys like Tuivasa or Gaziev were never going to save the division, but we were at least hoping talents like Tom Aspinall would rise and carry heavyweight forward.
What I really like is every time he wants to learn.
Yeah, when he's got loads of space.
Yeah, he got. It's so nice to teach somebody that's on a really good level and still like so eager, like, oh, give me more, and I was just like, pour more on him.
Instead, it somehow managed to get even worse. So, all of this leads to one big question. If the heavyweight division is slow to evolve, constantly stall at the top, and clearly falling behind, what needs to be done so that it can be reborn again?
Tai Tuivasa, guys, he's terrible. And when I say that, it sounds like such an insult. What an insult to say this guy's terrible. No, he's terrible. If a guy ever tells you, yeah, I'm feeling confident for this fight, what he is saying to you is, I feel if the worst case comes, which is the fight goes the distance. It's a 15-minute fight. I feel when I reach the 14th minute, I can still follow the golden rule, which is to protect myself. Tai, I mean, he looked tired a couple minutes into it.
The UFC needs to stop pretending that being 265 pounds is automatically impressive. Scouts and matchmakers need to value speed, footwork, recovery, and gas tanks. But now the question is that even possible at heavyweights? And I think with guys like Gable Stevenson coming up, it is. He's doing backflips like he's a lightweight, he has legitimate one-punch knockout power, and some people even call him an upgraded version of DC. Now, whether that's true or not is another conversation, but the point is, there is some potential. And you know what else? No more hostage situations. When that happens, contenders stagnate, matchup die, and momentum completely disappears. The John Jones situation was catastrophic for the heavyweight division, and it should never happen again. The UFC needs strict deadlines for title defenses, no super fights if contenders are waiting, and interim belts actually have to mean something. If you won't defend, you vacate. Simple. But most of all, heavyweight needs pressure. Every other division evolved because it had to. Heavyweight never did. Until now. Once power alone stops being enough, the division will have no choice but to finally evolve. Because the truth is, heavyweight isn't the only thing that stopped evolving. Even retirements became fake, temporary, reversible the moment money calls. That's the story I told in this last video. And once you see it, you can't unsee it.